So Christians today, they struggle so much with the idea of gender equality. They are being tossed to and fro into either accepting it as godly and biblical or denying and rejecting it. But here are the three reasons why I believe gender equality is not biblical. Number one, we see from the order of creation. God created man, then the woman. We see that at first God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. We see that when God created man, God saw the need of a woman. God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and then he took one of the ribs, and formed a woman. So we see that when God created man and when God formed the woman, God created the woman with the structural different with that of a man. We see that for procreation, a woman can never be the same as man because a woman has a womb and a man does not have. A man would always have a different reproductive structures or like structural elements that are different from that of the woman. So for this reason, a man cannot be the same as a woman. So why is this agenda being proclaimed so much? We see it's on the top of the agenda of every organizations, of every missions. We see anything in this world is always upholding gender equality. Number one, I believe it is corrupting the mind of our children. The children who are growing up, they are growing up with the belief that as a girl, I am the same, or I can be a man. I can choose my gender. I can choose my identity. I can choose to be a man. I can choose to be a woman. So this is the problem that we see that gender equality is now bringing. So we have a generation that is coming up who are actually have identity crisis, who are actually so much corrupted that they think that they can be any gender that they want. So this movement or this agenda of gender equality is being actually promoted by evil societies. Example, LGBT communities, the gay communities, they are actually promoting this because it distorts the order of creation. It distorts the original purpose why God created the two different sexes. So as the church and as the body of Christ, we have to stand up and always embrace the difference that God had created. Because the beauty of this difference is that the moment we see that I as the man, I as the husband, I can never be the same with my wife, then I would embrace my wife and understand our weakness and have an understanding. And I would take my wife as a weaker vessel, and then I would love her because I know that she is not the same with me. She doesn't have the same strength with me. She doesn't have the same understanding the way I do. We have differences, and she also does the same. Understands my differences, that there are certain things that she cannot have that I have, and there are certain things that I can never have that she has. So we need to understand that, and as the body of Christ, we need to embrace that God, from the order of creation, He created them male and female. He didn't create them the same sex. He didn't create us the same identity. No, we are different structurally. We are different biologically, and we are different from the order of creation. So we need to embrace and we need to understand that. Number two, we see actually now when it comes even to the functions and then the purpose, God had actually designed men and women differently, that we need to discover our differences, and then we need to embrace and the fact that we can never be equal. A man can never be equal to a woman. There are a lot of things that women has that men do not have. There are a lot of things that men have that women do not have. So we need to understand and we need to embrace the differences. So what is your thought on this gender equality? Because I see there is already a moral degradation that is happening, and there is now a generation that is rising up that are having identity crisis. There are already children who are being corrupted from institutions, from schools, and they come back home, and then like you were raising a precious daughter, but then after coming back from school, you find your daughter start acting like a boy, and then you will be surprised what really happened. It's because of this agenda that is being pushed forward and being instilled on the mind of children. So gender equality is not biblical, and it is not the will of God. God never intended that men should be equal to women. So now these are the questions that usually comes when I talk about gender equalities. Many people always become so angry and they become so annoyed, especially women, and they begin to say like, now if you take away gender equality, then there is going to be rise in domestic violence. My response to this is, before this technology, before the rise of this gender equality, before the rise of this kind of movements, we see our ancestors, those who were of old, there were not even issues of violence. You would not even hear of any story that would point to a home or like a domestic violence. Why? Because men of old, they used to adore, they used to love their wives. They used to protect their wives, because they knew that women were weaker vessels. Women were supposed to be protected. So men were always protective towards their women. So that was how we can see in the past. But now today we see, even in the midst of gender violence, we see there's a lot of court case. Like, I find a lot of times husbands and wives, they are always like on the panel having issues to do with violences that comes. The violence comes, this is the truth of how violence comes in homes. Violence comes because there is always our struggles in homes. There is always struggle of a man trying to dominate a woman, and then a woman tries to dominate the man. It's like a woman is fighting so hard to take the role of a woman, of the man. And in this process, you find it results into violence. Because men are naturally created to be dominant. Men are naturally created to be in control, to be protective, to be supportive, to be like the men to be the providers. That's why, like, if a woman begins to undermine the protections and the provisions and the support being offered by the man or the husband, that's where the problem comes. That's why, like, some women who feel like, oh, now that this man is giving me things that this is not the kind of things I want, she's not willing to submit. What happens is she's going to become aggressive and tries to take the position of provisions, protections. And in that case, always results in violence. So I believe gender equality causes, or is the leading cause of domestic violence. So I don't know what your thought is about this subject, but for me, I believe that's the cause. Think about in the Bible, like in the time of Abram, Sarah would call Abram my Lord with such kind of respect and such kind of adoration that she had toward her husband. And in those days, there was nothing like gender equality. There was nothing like this is my right and this is what I also have the right to do this and that. Women in those days, they were so much protected. They were so much protected by their husbands because their husbands considered them to be of a weaker vessel. And so you might be the woman out there and you are so much into gender equalities and has resulted even into loss of respect. There are a lot of men today, and especially personally, I would not be in good terms with a woman who would always try to be equal with me. I would actually love a woman who actually is submissive, who actually would respect me, who would actually adore me and looks at me as someone who can protect her, someone who can provide for her, someone who can watch over her and teach her and raise her and disciple her. That's the kind of person that I would be in good terms with. Think about today, there's so many women who cannot listen to their husbands because they feel like their husband has nothing good to say. Their husband actually they are way much better than their husbands, so they lose respect. And today when you look, you find that in the past, there were no divorce. The cases of divorce was not so much like today. So in the presence of gender equality, in the presence of rights, of human rights, and rights that governs wives and right that governs different kind of people, you still find that today there's a lot of divorce. And you ask yourself, what's the reason? Why is there a lot of divorce? It's because of gender equality. It's because now a woman is so much demanding. Like she wants to take the authority. She wants to be in control. She wants to be like the man of the house. Like you find like the man would want like, hey, this is what has to be in this home. The woman like does what she wants, and then there is no control because the man has lost the position of control. And so what happened is men who are naturally, God had created them to be a dominant, it ends up like they start searching for another woman whom they can control, whom they can protect, whom they can provide for. And in that process, you find divorce happens. So this is the reason. Even if you look for a man or a woman who has already had divorced, the cause had been gender equality. So women, you have to go back to the root of womanhood, where like you take the roles of a woman, you take the roles of wives. Like wives, you have to adorn yourself with such purity, with such inner beauty. That's what men are looking for. So if we want to see a marriage like successful, if you want to see like a family so much grounded and so much love, like loving and a lot of like unity, then we have to go back to the root of our faith, and that is women to be submissive to their husbands, and men to take the rightful position of leadership and of protections and of provisions in our homes. So I hope this blesses you, and in the comment below, I ask you to comment there, and please be friendly in your comment, because I would want to interact with you as well in the comment section. Personally, I believe it's going to help you as a woman, and it's going to help you also as the man. But now there's one thing that I forgot. And that is, some men, they will take advantage of an absence of equalities and absence of rights, women rights, and then they would start to abuse women. Actually, these are men who are not godly. But a godly man is never going to abuse a submissive woman. A godly man can never harm a weaker vessel. That is immaturity. That's a state where a person does not understand. But if you are the man of God, if you are the woman of God, when you embrace the order of creation and then the purpose of creation, when you embrace what God originally intended marriage and family to be like, then you would see the joy. Be blessed.